take your seats, we will play our 8 Principles video.
Amen.
The Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola, the 8 Principles.
Number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relation.
Number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation.
Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregation and in society at large.
Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all.
Number 7, respect for the interdependent web of existence,
of which we are all a part.
Number 8, active commitment to dismantle racism and other oppression in ourselves and our institutions.
Good morning. Hi. Welcome, everyone. I'm Mary Beth. I'll be your service leader today. My pronouns are she and her. And before we get started, please silence all the devices that make noises. Yes, check it. There's some people not moving. Check it. Okay. Just kidding. I won't call you out. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. We are so happy to have you all here. If this is your first time, a big fat welcome. In case you're wondering, you're home. You found us. Yay. Welcome. It's about time you got here. No, it's better late than never. They're right on time. If you're joining us online, thank you for joining us. And if you're returning, just as equally happy to see you as well. We're so glad to have everyone here. Just a couple things about our church. This is the announcements, but the slide before said it. We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola. And hopefully, if you are new and you got a pamphlet when you walked in, and it has all of our information, but if you didn't, that's okay. You can go to our website. It has everything you need to know about Unitarian Universalists, as well as UUCP specifically. Has our calendar with all of our events and ways you can give, if you want to give, but more on that later. So yes, if you want to know anything about us, please visit our website. Thank you for that. We are a lay-led congregation. Basically, that just means we have different faces pretty much almost every Sunday. We have some returning faces, some crowd favorites, but we also have brand new people. Like today, our speaker is new and is a lovely person, but again, more on that later. So yeah, come, next week, be a completely different person and a completely different message. But how great is that, right? To get lots of different perspectives, different experiences, different, stories. So yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite things about this church, and I have so many favorites about this church. Right? Thank you. So, I have quite a few announcements, but before I do, because I'm about to ask you to sit for a minute through my stack, please turn to your neighbor and say, "Now what?"
Now what?
Now what? What do we do now? Okay. Yes. Get it out. Okay, that's it. Rail it in. I got announcements. Okay. So first, we have a fun activity right after church today. We're doing a big family church lunch at Vallarta. I've gotten a lot of RSVPs. Thank you so much. You have until about 10 minutes after the service, though, to tell me if you want to join us for lunch, because I'm making a beeline for the restaurant because we need to reserve a big fat space for all our people. So, yes, it's a church family lunch at Vallarta, which is that's Pensacola Boulevard, right? It's just right down the street. So that is directly after that. And I've been winking about it for a while now when I announce it, because I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. It's for Michael's birthday. Michael Newcomb is right there. Yes. And we can sing to him during Joys and Sorrows. So be ready for that, Michael. Don't go to the bathroom, because we want to sing to you. But we'll wait till Joys and Sorrows in case there are any other. Anywho, Michael, if you don't know, is just probably, I'd say, the best person at this church. I don't think anyone would argue with me. He's just amazing. He does so much for us. His birthday was actually on the 17th, two days ago, so sorry. But anyway, so let's have a big lunch celebration for Michael afterwards. But anyway, on that note, normally after service, we have a little social hour. Thank you. We have a little social hour after service with snacks and coffee and stuff, but because it's Michael's birthday and he does all of that, we're not doing that today. So I do apologize if you're new, but just join us for Mexican food afterward. It'll be fine. Or come back the next week and you'll get all the goodies that we usually have. Okay, next up. Yesterday's No Kings protest. Hold for applause. That was, yes. It was organized by 50501 Pensacola with participation from many other groups. It was a huge success. Laura will say more about it during Joys and Sorrows as she helped organize that. But we know there were lots of the UU people there because we always represent and show up, do we not? Yes. But in a crowd of over 3,000 people, we couldn't all connect at one time. So if you were there yesterday, we would love to get a quick photo, just right after service. So do you want, let's see, did you say, in front of the sanctuary. So right up here, just meet up front, and we'll get a quick picture, and if you brought your sign, bring those too, so we can have a quick photo about that from yesterday. Also on that, the congregation is really working hard for justice. Yesterday, 3,000 Pensacolians celebrated unity and the protest of many injustices we see happening in our current federal administration. So, next Sunday, October 26th, a group of us seekers of justice and equity will meet after service for part 3 of What Do We Do Now? We will explore what people in our community are doing and where we might be helpful. So that's kind of our second hour, and I think it'll be in the sanctuary here directly after service. If you have questions, I think you can see Paula. Yes, over there. Okay, and be expecting to hear from your Just Pensacola, that's JUST, acronym. Be prepared to hear from your Just Pensacola team leaders. That is the person who invited you to a house meeting. The reason they will be reaching out to you is that it is time to get together in a big meeting to select our new topic for seeking justice locally. And if you don't know what Just Pensacola is, see Paula afterward, but they fight for lots of things like affordable housing and, yada, yada. So lots of things. But if you want to know more about that organization, ask Paula about it. So that meeting, called a Problem Assembly, will be held October 28th at St. Christopher's Church at 6 p.m. And again, you'll be hearing from your team leaders about that. Paula is one. Penny Featherstone is another leader. Barbara Wright is not here, but she's another one, and also Lauren Anzaldo, and she may not be here either. Anyway, see one of us if you have questions. With me? Okay. Thank you. All right. Please come and attend our cleanup, our outdoor cleanup. That's next Saturday, this coming Saturday, October 25th. It's from 9 to 1. There's going to be a potluck lunch, so bring something to share. They'll eat at noon. And then, we'll do some cleanup before then at the yard. So if you have any questions, and if you are able to attend, please see Laura Keith King here.
Can't wait.
Yard cleanup. Okay, next one. Earth Stars will be hosting the Trick or Treasure Hunt again this year, and it's a week from today, October 26th, from 1 to 3. And they need volunteers, specifically people with muscle, or people who think they have muscle, whatever. Strong backs is helpful, though. They need help cleaning up and setting up, and yes. Okay, great. Well, just in case, see Farron if you are able to attend, or if you want to help, like give candy or I don't know, something. Or if you want to come and you have questions. Yeah, we do need candy. We always need candy. Just bring candy every Sunday, just in case. I'll eat it. It's fine. Okay, 2 more. Join our long-term planning committee. We're forming a committee to help shape our church's 5-year plan, a roadmap for growth, connection, and community impact. This team will bring our congregation together to set meaningful goals and guide our future. If you're passionate about our church's mission and want to be a part of the vision, we'd love to have you involved. Let's dream together, plan together, and grow together. And if you are interested in helping out with that, please see Brett Ramsey there. Raise your hand. There he is. Thank you. Lastly, join us, Fun and Fellowship, for an Ice Flyers hockey game. Yes, this is a new event that we're trying. So we're going to go Friday, November 14th. The game starts at 7. And join us to cheer on the Ice Flyers. Tickets are $20. If that's an issue, don't worry about it. See me. We'll make it happen. You do have to RSVP by November 2nd so that I can get a big group, and it'll be handicap accessible. So if you want to come and you're worried about steps, don't worry about it. I got that covered. Just let me know by November 2nd, and we can get a big group together and really represent our community. And I think if we get so many people, they do a UUCP shout-out.
Can't wait.
I know.
I can't wait.
So, okay, thank you so much for joining me on that long journey of announcements. I really appreciate it. I know it was a lot, so if you have questions, see me after and I'll give you the spiel again. So, okay. Christy, would you mind helping me light our chalice today? And, yes, okay. We light this chalice to help us move from untruth to truth, to help us move from ignorance to wisdom, to help us move from animosity to love, to help us move from bondage to freedom. We rededicate ourselves before this light to affirm and practice truth, wisdom, love, and freedom today and in the days to come. Thank you. And on that note, I'm going to invite the choir up.
We're already here.
Thank you. Oh, good. If the choir can come up, they're going to lead us along with our talented musicians in a centering music piece.
Let the games begin.
Just some short opening words from Arthur Ashe. Success is a journey, not a destination. The doing is often more important than the outcome. We have an opening song, if you are willing and able to stand. It's in the old gray hymnal just underneath your seat, and it's number 295. Yes, thank you. Stand and sing with us, and then stay standing afterwards, and we'll say our covenant together. Thank you. Please join us in saying our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is all.
This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, choir. At this time, it's a special time. This is our joys and sorrows time. So this is a time just for us, just for the people here in this congregation. It's not shared online. It's not posted on our YouTube channel. It's just a second that we take to share anything that's been heavy on our hearts or something that you want to celebrate and you want us to celebrate with you, or you want us to console you, send you love and thoughts and prayers. This is the time for that. So what you can do is line up on either side. If you can share your name, and then very briefly, something that you'd like to share with the congregation, and we'll light a candle for that. The first one we'll light is going to be an all-encompassing candle, right? We just don't have enough time or candles to light a candle for everything going on in the world, so this very first one that we light will just be a big representation of everything going on in our country and in our world. But then after that, we'll light a candle for you. Version. Go now in peace, go now in joy. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Thank you. Okay, offering time. We have this every Sunday, and it's because, if you don't know, we are member funded, solely member funded. So we run off of our community. That's you. So if you are able to give time, talent, or treasure, we would take it all. Now, though, we'll ask the greeters to come up and take any treasure you are willing and able to give. You can give one of these ways. I think most people set up a reoccurring payment online, so if you're interested in that, check out our website, and there is information about that. But thank you, greeters, for passing that around. Quick little ditty.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you giving. Okay, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our speaker, someone who radiates warmth, kindness, and an unwavering sense of hope. From the very first moment I spoke with her, I was struck by her genuine spirit, her infectious positivity. She has a remarkable gift for making people feel seen, heard, and uplifted. She is on a mission, one rooted in love, compassion, and the belief that every person deserves hope. Her journey, her insights, and her heart-centered approach to life are nothing short of inspiring. Today, we have the privilege of hearing her story and learning from her wisdom. So please help me welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Martha S. Horton.
Hi. Hey. Well, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. You know, when I lived in Mexico off and on for 20 years, I attended UU. And if you ever go to San Miguel de Allende, Guanajuato, you have to attend. The meeting is in the top of a hotel called La Aldea, and it's all glass. And for the whole time I was there, the program ministered to me, the people ministered to me, and we tried to minister to the community. So I really feel like yesterday, when you talk about marching, when you talk about showing up, when you talk about being willing to stand up when evil wants to overtake and not allowing it to happen, you know, I'm right there with you. And I want to tell everybody how much I appreciate the opportunity to come. When Dolly asked me to speak, she had no idea what she was asking, because I had given a little talk at the equity place about how I had grown up on a plantation in Mississippi for the first few years, and with very racist family and background, and how I had gone to school in Gainesville during the time when we didn't go to integrated schools. It was all segregated. So until I was 16, I'd never spoken to a black kid or anybody. But I remember the old tapes of, "You're going to be scared to death, and don't ever get anywhere near a black kid." And so when I entered high school, and one day I was having trouble with my locker, this black kid came up to me down the hall, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to wet my pants. This man he's going to rape me right here on the floor. It's going to be terrible. And this very sweet guy came up to me, and he said, "May I help you with your locker?" And it was the beginning of chipping away at the layers of racism that my grandparents and my family had placed within me. And it was the beginning of a whole lot of other journeys in my life. I want to tell you today a little about my own personal journey, and then I want to talk about the gifts that have been given to me since. And I think for many of you here, you're going to be hearing your stories, and I hope you'll identify with what I'm talking about. From this beginning, during the Second World War, I lived with those grandparents in a very modest house on stilts on the Runnymede Plantation near Greenwood, Mississippi. And incidentally, Edabino, which is about 6 miles from the plantation, is where the civil rights marches all started. But at any rate, during that time, when I was I was 9 months to about almost 4 years old, when my father was in the Second World War, I lived in a cocoon of unconditional love, enormous support. I felt like a princess. I was especially loved. And then the war ended, and my wonderful, dangerous, fabulous father came home from the war, manic depressive, alcoholic, and shell-shocked. Today we call it PTSD. And in the day, there really wasn't very much being offered for people like that. And so 2 years later, when he had tried to put his life together and really couldn't, he killed himself. And on the day he killed himself, in the morning, it was my brother's birthday, I was 8 years old. My mother had cooked up a picnic because she was teaching golf at the University of Florida. we went out to Lake Wahlberg, which was the recreation area. And when we came back, and in the morning, my father had invited me to stay with him that day, and I said, no, I'm going on this picnic because it's Vigi's birthday, and that's where I'm going. And so when I came home, my mom dropped my brother and me at the house, and I went upstairs and found him lying dead across the bed. The rifle was on the floor, and I thought, oh my God, this is my fault. My life is over. I'm guilty for this. And the problem was, when I figured it out later, my mom had left the gun in the house. He had bought several other guns, and she had taken them out of the house. And on this day, she took us all on the picnic, leaving the gun in the house, and then dropped my brother and me at the house. My sense is, because when she read my book about growing up in adulthood, she was 80 years old, came out of the room and said, Martha, I'm 14 and I'm not growing up. And I said, Mom, you don't have to tell me. You lie, you steal, you manipulate, you do wonderful things as a teenager, but you're no adult. But the point was, I think she probably thought, he's messing up our lives. If he wants to kill himself, let him. And so she left the gun. So I was stuck there. And she never talked about my father again. We moved to a different part of Gainesville. And then she married a professor of law at the University of Florida. 5 years later, he died very suddenly. Her alcoholism really took off. We moved to Illinois, like I said, where I had the beginnings of some of the wonderful truths that I believe today that we all share. But the point was, my life just continued to spiral. So by the time I was 40, I was coming out of 2 failed marriages. I had raised 5 kids, 3 of my ex-husbands and 2 of ours, one of mine and one of ours, for 8 years. I had run away to the wilds of Colorado. I had become a guide on a guest ranch for a summer. I had an alternative high school in Rifle, Colorado for 2.5 years. I was a social worker in the Department of Social Services. All of this was my 6 universities and a year of nursing school, bachelor's degree in English, right? All this was happening, right? So by the time, and I didn't realize then that my binge drinking indicated that I was an alcoholic. My parents had been daily drinkers, but my binge drinking was really a problem for me. So in 1978, after a 6-week binge, and knowing that if I didn't stop drinking, I was going to ruin my opportunity to raise my kids, I had a crisis. I stopped drinking, and I haven't had a drink since. That was 47 years ago. Finding AA was really important to me, and as life would have it, my mom, by this time, had gotten sober after I was social worker for a year, had gotten sober, and she, because she had a doctor's degree, she was the manager of outpatient care at the Hazelden Rehabilitation Center in Minnesota, right? So she said, well, Martha, there are no master's degree programs in Colorado, so if you want to come back to Hazelden, probably we can cook up a job for you. And I went with my 2 teenage kids to Minnesota, the wilds of Minnesota. And for a couple of years, I was an aftercare director there, or aftercare counselor there, and I worked with people who were sober and straight, but who came there, and they had living situation problems. And I found out that I could do something pretty well, that I could work with people well, that I somehow had a gift of healing that I had no responsibility for, but that was simply there. People got better. But people got better almost immediately, right? I wasn't working with people long term. And remember that when I'm going to tell you in a little bit about something else that happened in my life. But okay, so I felt like I was being successful. And I met a guy who said, why don't you come to New York City? And I had never been to New York City. And I said, but why not? Why not go to New York City, right? And in the meantime, we had a year to wait because he had a heart problem. So I became aftercare director of a center in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. And the problem I was having then was the problem that led me to figure out what was wrong with me. Because at that point I really felt like a fraud. I felt like I was teaching people in my aftercare groups all about loving themselves and cherishing their inside selves and standing up for themselves. But in my outer life, in my personal life, I was addicted, looking for love, looking for security, and generally it had to do, now that I wasn't drinking or using drugs or anything else, it had to do with a man. And the man in that situation had had a terrible situation with a woman 5 years before, who had drowned in an incident in the Bahamas, and he was commitment averse. And so this lovely man in the community had a circle of women, and I was in that circle, right? And he would come to one of us, and he would be very sweet, and then we would sort of want to invite him to dinner or something, and then he'd run to the next woman. And the problem I had was that I couldn't get out of it. The crumbs he was throwing me of love were enough to keep me addicted to this person. So all this time I'm teaching people about loving themselves, but in my private life I was a total fake. And for about 5 minutes at that point in 1982, I felt suicidal. I thought, well, my dad killed himself. Why don't I just check out? I can't stand it. I can't stand standing in front of people and talking about loving themselves when I'm hating myself and addicted and not being able to live a life of integrity. Well, on this day, it was January 21st, 1983, I did a social history on a guy who was a drama coach from Temple University. And I don't know what, today, I still don't know what resonated with me. But on my way home from a very successful aftercare group that evening, I was driving along Amish roads. And if you've ever been to lower Pennsylvania around Amish country, you realize there are no lights. They don't believe in electricity. So I had a little Volkswagen. So I'm driving home, and I started to cry. And I started to beat with my fists on the steering wheel. And I thought, I am having a breakdown. And I moved to the side of the road, and an Amish buggy came by. I mean, here we were, 10 o'clock at night, right? But it had a great big orange triangle on the back of it, and so I followed it home, cried all night, went back to the center the next day, and was sitting in the room, and it was sort of dimly lit, and I was sitting in the corner with this patient and the psychologist and the nurse and other people and the director of the center, and tears just started to flow when they started reading my description of him. And the amazing thing about that was at the end of it, everybody left, and I said to the director, you know, Jeff, I'm really losing it, and I don't know what the matter is. I just don't know what it is. And he said, stand up. And I went over to him, and he gave me a big hug, and he said, now close your eyes. And he said, you know, how old would a child be who would be behaving in the way you are or have the reaction that you're having? And I said, I don't know, 8 or 9. And he said, well, what happened to you when you were 8 or 9? And all of a sudden in my mind, for the very first time, I saw the little 8-year-old sitting on a couch in the living room with her mother across the room, trying to tell this person that he was asleep or he was resting or he was reading or something. And then blood started coming from the register onto the couch, and she ran upstairs, and that was the end of the vision. But there stood this little 8-year-old who thought that she had killed her father, that she was responsible totally for his death. Her life was over. It was terrible, and she was unlovable totally. And I saw her in my mind, and I said, no, this isn't the truth. This was his doing. This little girl, you weren't responsible for this. And so I began with my eyes closed, sending this little girl messages. And I said, you know, let me embrace you. Let me give you the love and security that you obviously needed at that moment. Let me confront the lies that you believed all these years. And when I began to love her and nurture her in a way that only I could within myself, she began to relax. She began to let go of the fear that had trapped her all those years. She was a perfectly normal little 8-year-old girl who was trapped in something that had happened to her. And so when I began to do that, for the next 3 years, I went on to New York. I had an aftercare center there. During those 3 years, periodically, something else would come to me, like when my second father died and stuff. And it would occur to me that my inside self needed to rework that experience. So I would say, all right, what would you have liked at the time he died? And I said, I wanted to go to his funeral. I wanted to get, say goodbye. There were all kinds of things I wanted. I didn't want to live with my mother and her alcoholism increasing. I didn't want that. And so I went to this part of myself and said, look, if I had been there with you when the other things were happening, I would have not allowed it. I would have helped you feel loved and secure, even though those other things actually did happen. And the belief that my inner self had at that time, believing my version of events, believing my intent to provide love and security, allowed her to shift again from one age to another. Until when I was in New York, and I was walking along, 3 years later, I was walking along First Avenue, going back to my apartment. And gradually, over those 3 years, my life had gotten better. I was able to make better decisions. If I knew someone was wrong for me in relationship, I could act on that knowing it was wrong. I didn't have to say, oh, I know that's wrong, I'm going to do it anyway, which was my immature stance. So I'm walking along First Avenue, and all of a sudden I thought, what's missing? What's gone? And it was that my backside, not my backside, but my back, and my inner self and my outer self had merged into one person. And it was like so strange. I didn't know this was a moment of becoming emotionally mature, or that there was a goal to this process I was living. Hadn't a clue. I just knew that the more I focused on my inner life, the more I reworked these times when I felt emotionally stuck, things in my outer life improved, and the inner self seemed to be in vision a little older, until finally she was my own age. Now, almost immediately after this happened, Simon & Schuster, well, by the way, let me just back up. My aftercare center had been in operation for about 3 years, and during that time, I met a woman named Janet Woititz, and some of you may have been part or may be part of the Adult Children of Alcoholics movement, and she started it. She wrote the original book on it. And so my aftercare center became her referral of choice in New York City. So once I was my own age, I was working with the editor of an imprint in New York, and she said, look, Simon & Schuster's looking for someone to write a book on parenting for adult children of alcoholics. And so they took me to Rockefeller Center. We had a fancy lunch. This woman said there'll be a 6-figure advance if you'll write this book, blah, blah, blah. I found an agent at an AA meeting who was wonderful, Howard Sandham. So I'm on my way, right? I'm going to have all this money, and I'm going to have some success, and it's going to be terrific. Well, that isn't what happened. I tried to do the outline for the book, and I said, no, this is putting lipstick on a pig. You can't parent if you haven't grown up, or at least you can't parent your children to emotional maturity if you're not emotionally mature yourself. And so for the next 3 years, without the great advance, because the woman said, we don't want this book, but I knew this was the book I had to write, this was my guidance. For 3 years, I wrote and published my book, The Seashell People, because remember, I felt like two people. The Seashell People Growing Up in Adulthood, and in softcover, it's Growing Up in Adulthood, The Journey to Emotional Maturity. And one of the, I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute. Whoops, I've almost taken up all my time. You're good. Am I still good? Okay, so point being, when I went to my mom to work on the manuscript, my mother beat me up, looked at me and said, you're too vulnerable. You don't know what you're doing here. How could you ever work with anybody? Because she'd never paid attention to me before. So finally, in her dotage, she looked at me and said, we got to do something about this. So she would say things to me while I was with her in Sun City, West Arizona, while she smoked 2 packs of cigarettes in my face. Your kids don't love you. The book will never sell. The man you care about will never call. and I would, in the beginning, I would go off to my room and it would take me hours to get better, and then I would come back into the living room. Well, by the time it was time to go back to New York after I had finished the book, she could say the most outrageous thing to me, and I would say, well, yeah, you're right, my kids might not love me, think of that. So she quit, but she felt, when I explained to her that I didn't leave the book to her, because I thought, I told her if it was up to you, you wouldn't have a book, and so I didn't dedicate it to you. But I said, you've been my greatest teacher. And in the process of growing up, we all need to be toughened. I was my own age, but I needed to get stronger. And why was that? That was because when I went back to New York, and I thought, I'll work with alcoholics again, didn't quite know what to do. That was when I got my mission. Apparently I was strong enough, adult enough, mature enough to be able to accept it. And people started finding me at bus stops, at the lobby of my apartment building, all over the place, and they would say, look, I have emotional problems. You just written this book, help me. And I thought, I don't have a method to help anybody else. What am I going to do? But after enough people came to me, I said, I better figure this out. And what I knew were the two things. One, nobody's going to sit still 3 years to go through a healing process. And number two, I have no idea how to help people go within and have a vision of themselves, since mine was a one-off and an accident, right? So I had taken a course in guided imagery, and so I began using guided imagery with people, very simple shift in consciousness, which I have found is essential if you're going to go within. A lot of people, and I'm sure many of you, meditate. So you know what it feels like when there's a slight shift of consciousness. But what I found was we had to directly go to the inner child or the person who was stuck. Oftentimes people don't know why they're stuck, but all of us have an inner self. And the inner self absolutely knows why it's stuck, why it didn't feel loved and secure at a certain time, and what it needs from us to feel loved and secure. So I found out that once people could go inside, identify the inner self, and then give the inner self what it needed and reworked at that time, they would do the same shifting of age that I had done that had taken me 3 years, and they could do it in a matter of several weeks or a couple of months. It was miraculous. It's still miraculous. I've now worked with thousands of people in the United States, in Mexico, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic. When I was 58 years old, after working with people for a while, my guidance said go back to school and get a doctor's degree, because nobody's going to believe this method or give it credibility, or you. So it took me 7 years, a day at a time. A person who, when I was immature, if I promised you on Monday I would show up for you on Friday, I would have an excuse on Friday for not meeting with you, right? 7 years, a day at a time. 4 years sent on a mountain in Costa Rica and in Mexico, and I got my doctor's degree when I was 65 years old. Now, and now at 83, I have just finished an 8-year project on the book that I've just finished, and it's the answer to what next, right? It's like, what do we do next? And for some of it, it's back up, like I had to do about getting a doctor's degree, and finish growing up. So that what? So that we can do the title of my book, which is Become the Mature Adult in the Room, by growing up in adulthood and finding inner peace. Because if we can't go in and listen to our own inner guidance and follow that guidance and know peace as a result, because we're still emotionally stuck someplace in the past and we haven't finished resolving those stoppages, there is no way we're going to have the courage to be able to do what was done at the march yesterday, to be able to say, in the face of all sorts of things happening, we are strong enough to stand and live through the consequences. I want to read the very last part of my introduction. And it's so funny because I really didn't know I was going to be talking after the marches yesterday, or the commitment you guys have made to to justice and to doing the right thing. So you will Forgive me, but I want to read it because I couldn't possibly remember all the words. It says, the answer to the questions we ask about emotional maturity in and around us lie within each of us. To have a mature and peaceful world with mature and peace-sponsoring adults and leaders, we must become mature ourselves. We must courageously choose peace as the guiding principle and prize of living, no matter how fearful our start in life or the lack of maturity and peace now. We owe it to ourselves, our loved ones, and the world to become adults who are mature, wise, and know peace. Adults who challenge immature power people and advocate for peace privately and publicly. We must strive to become the emotionally mature adults in the room. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Horton. Yeah, musicians, if y'all want to come on up, choir, if y'all want to come up as well, we'll sing a closing song, but just got some closing words here by Maureen Killeron. As we weather winds of change, may we have wisdom to cherish moments of stillness. As we recollect time of challenge and of pain, may we remember also the graceful blessings of our lives. As we look to future unknowns, may we have the boldness to trust that there is unimagined good yet to come. Y'all want to stand and join us and sing the last song? It's in the Till hymnal, which also should be under your chair. It's number 1020. Oh, the words will be up here as well also. Sorry, Mike. Thank you.
What?
get there, right? Someday. We don't know how, but we'll get there. In the meantime, let's get to lunch, right? Am I right? Vallarta. Love you so much. Thanks for being here. Protest pictures, if y'all were here yesterday at the protest, come up front.